today we're going to make the easiest, yummiest bread ever. I think this is a perfect opportunity while we're all kind of locked down a little bit to expand our skills and repertoire. So I'm going to show you how to make the quickest bread of your life. It's even quicker than going out to the grocery store, waiting in line for an hour to be let in, going to buy the bread, bringing it back. It would all be done by then. No, way sooner than that. So if you want to see this recipe and see how easy it is and hear the tips that I have from making this a million times over, then keep watching. If you're new here, my name is Julie and I teach moms how to schedule their time, organize their lives and change their mindset so they can focus on what matters most for them and their family. Go ahead and click that subscribe button and turn on your little bell notification. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And with all that said, let's jump right in and make some delicious bread. Okay, so first things first, I have the oven on heated to 450 degrees. So the ingredients that you're going to need for this bread are flour. We're going to do 3 cups of flour, half a teaspoon of instant yeast, 2 teaspoons of salt. I would definitely be mindful of the salt because if you've ever had unsalted bread, it's actually not very nice at all. So you don't want to over salt it, but 2 teaspoons seems to be around about the magic spot. 1.5 to 2 teaspoons for this amount of flour. I have added a little bit of sugar because I feel like the yeast likes the sugar. And if you can see behind me, I don't know if you can see this, but I've been making some bread throughout the day. You can see how massive it is. Trust me, it did not start off that big, and I think the sugar helps. And then I have a little bit of oil to wipe down the baking ware that we're going to use to cook the bread or bake the bread, because even though most of the recipes that I see don't call for any kind of non-stick, I have had to try and like hack out bread from baking tins, and it's not a fun experience. So I'm going to show you how I wipe it all down and then get started with the recipe. Okay, so if you don't know what this is a Dutch oven. I'm going to use a pastry brush, but you could use, I don't have paper towels, but you could use paper towels with oil. You could probably use just a regular cloth that you would use in a wash if you don't use paper towels. But a pastry brush works really well to get a very thin layer of oil so that you're not using more than you need. I'm actually going to show you the bread in 2 different versions. So you can use this round bread and you'll create obviously a round bread, or you can use a bread loaf tin. Well, it's not really tin, but ceramic, right? Which I think is much easier for cutting bread and storing bread. What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to bake all this bread that I'm about to make, or that I've been letting rise over there. I'm going to bake it all today, and then I'm going to slice it once it comes out of the oven, and I'm going to freeze it like that, so that we would just take it out and have it as toast, versus trying to, when you make fresh bread, it expires, you know what I mean? It goes stale very quickly, and so then I feel this need to eat more than I probably should be, and being at home more, I'm surrounded by bread. Who doesn't want to eat fresh bread out of the oven? So that's a tip, to kind of freeze it, put it in a bag in the freezer. You could also freeze the dough if you didn't want to cook it and then take it out, thaw it out and then cook it. Totally up to you. Okay, so we're going to start mixing the bread. I'm going to take off my rings because it gets a little messy. All right, so I'm going to get 3 cups, not 4. Whoops. Yeah, can't get all messy. 3 cups of flour. I just don't have the patience to spoon out 3 cups of flour. I must say, like, I've measured everything out, which makes it look so fancy. Usually I kind of just toss everything in, or if you're South African, you just hoy it all in, throw it all in. And sometimes it works out fine, and other times the bread is too salty or not salty enough. But I've made this so many times that I feel like I'm becoming a little at-home bread expert with this particular recipe. Okay, so we're going to put this in. Oops, we're going to put this into our measuring bowl, just like that. You always want to add all the dry ingredients first, because if you add dry, wet, dry, it doesn't allow things to evenly distribute. So there's the yeast. I'm going to put in my tablespoon or so of sugar. Just going to mix this up. then I'm gonna put in the water. Oh, so the water needs to be warm to help the yeast activate. So I put in about a cup of kind of boiled water, and then I cooled it down with tap water, cold tap water, and then it was still a little hot, and you don't want to burn the yeast and kill it essentially, because yeast is a living thing. So then I put an ice cube in it to cool it down. But that's just a little tip. And then the other thing, I think the reason also why this bread behind me has like gone so crazy is because it's very hot in here. It's warm. So what I usually do is I put bread in the sun. And if you've watched any of my previous videos recently, because I've been cooking so much, baking so much bread, I usually have bread in those videos. And I keep the bread in the sun if I can, or find a warm place. Another tip that I like to do is I put the oven on very low, like 170 degrees Fahrenheit. I put it on for maybe, it warms up for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, very little. Switch it off, and it has a very low temperature. And then I put the bread in the oven, covered, and let it rise like that in the oven for however long. All right, so basically, ta-da, that is it in terms of what needs to happen, like pre-steps. So you can kind of see how much or how little is in here. This would probably rise to probably around here, if not more, given enough time. So now I'm going to cover it with a little handy dandy, I don't even know what you call these, dish covers. They come in different sizes. Shout out to my sister for getting these for me. I think they're from South Africa actually as well. And these are awesome as like a waste-free alternative to plastic wrap. I don't think you need any plastic. I don't have any plastic wrap, Glad wrap, or anything in my house. So I use these all the time. And they've come in a lot, they've come in handy with baking bread. Our oven is now preheated to 450. I have been doing 500, but I think 450 is actually better so that it can cook and not burn on the top so much. So I'm going to show you what's going to happen now. Once you've mixed all that dough out, you want to let the yeast rise for about 10 to 12 hours. So it depends. I think instant yeast might be a bit quicker, but versus like active dry yeast, but let it rise. And then once that kind of time period is passed, you can put it in the oven and do all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I greased this one as you saw. This is crazy. Like if you've never seen how yeast works, it's kind of a fun thing to do with your kids as well. So things are about to get a little messy. It's also like popping a balloon a little bit. I'm gonna put some flour down because even though you've already put your flour into the bread, it's still, it probably needs a little bit more. I also find something else is to clean these bowls all the time. It's kind of a pain because the dough sticks to them. So I sometimes line them with a little bit of oil just to make it easier to clean up. And then what I'm going to do, and I also, as a tip, I don't know if this is helpful, but I try to keep one hand fairly clean so that if I need to touch something, like now there's flour, this bread has a lot of flour on it, so it's not super sticky, but sometimes with baking, oftentimes with baking, it can get super sticky. And so I like to have one hand that is like, I could just easy wipe off if I needed to use the tap, or I mean, kids come in or something, I don't know, you never know. So basically what I'm going to do, and sometimes I'm like, oh, did I just knock out all this good air that just happened? Okay, so I'm going to put it in my Dutch oven. Just like that, so if you can see like that. Oh, it's like shifting around, which is a good sign, because otherwise it won't be able to get it out. And I'm going to put the lid on so that the bread can cook and rise, like in a little oven in itself, without burning. Because what can happen is, if you have the lid exposed, the crust will burn or be so hard that you won't be able to eat it before the inside of the bread can actually cook. So this protects it from burning, which is really good. So I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to do the next loaf. So same principle, I grease this. You can use butter or oil, whatever you want to do. You can also experiment and put flour in it, but I just like doing a really thin layer of oil. I think that's just the cleanest way to do it. Like a tasteless oil. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get this bad boy out. Hopefully I estimated the right, like the bigger one for the bigger one, you know what I mean? See that? I put a little bit of oil in it, it makes it so much easier to clean up. Trust me. Okay, I'm gonna put the spread in. Just gonna put a little more flour in. I think the recipe is kind of designed with you to have to put a little bit more flour in towards the end, so you're not gonna over flour. And I think bread is fairly forgiving. If this was scones or like some kind of pastry, you do not want to be kneading it so much, but because this is just your standard glutinous bread with how many ingredients? Like 4 ingredients, including salt. It can take a little bit of a pounding, you know, and it's still okay. I know that I've added the right ratio of flour to water. I'm actually kind of enjoying doing this. It's really therapeutic because it's not too sticky. Like my hands are fairly clean, which is good. And now I also like to clean up as I go along. Does anyone else do that? It's just so much easier. There's all these little moments of downtime when you're baking and cooking that you can quickly wash a dish or put stuff away. Okay, and now we have like this. So now here's a situation where I have to think about this. I might have to do the bread separately because usually I put an oven-proof top on this bread, which is not, I don't have a lid for this, obviously, but I'm using it for that one. So that's a good point. So I might have to cook these separately. I need to think about that. So I found a solution. This is just like a lid. Not the prettiest solution, but I think this should work. So I'm gonna put these guys in the oven and then show you what they look like. Time is set for 30 minutes with the lid on, and then the last 10 to 15 minutes or so, you remove the lid and allow them to kind of brown. And in the meantime, I'm gonna clean all the stuff up, take advantage of the fact that my kids are not here right now, and I will show you the bread when it is done. So the reason I wanted to show you how to make bread is because I think it's one of those easy life skills that is a lot easier than you think and super useful and just very versatile. Even if you don't want to eat a lot of bread, you might have kids that need to eat bread or a partner or something, or you just need to make a quick sandwich. It's just one of those staples in human existence, is some form of bread. Even if you don't want to eat the bread all the time, you can freeze it and then keep it for when you need it and warm it up with the toaster or whatever. But I think it helps to simplify your life, which is all about what we do here on this channel. So that's why I think it's really important that you learn quick and easy recipes, bread being one of them. Okay, so these have been in the oven 30 minutes. Woo, camera, sorry. Remove the, look at that, remove the lid. Okay, let's take the lid off. Ta-da! Wow, that looks really good. Okay, let's put this hot lid down. I'm gonna put this back in the oven for 12 minutes with its bread friend. Look at that. Looks pretty darn good. So now I'm gonna leave them in here just to cool down fully before slicing them. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please comment down below what you would like me to cook next and what kind of recipes I can help you with to make your life a little easier, a little more simple. I love trying out new things, kind of getting used to them, committing them to memory, and then just like whipping them out really easily. It makes life so much quicker and easier. Okay, so as you can see, here's the bread. Look at this. Looks amazing. Hopefully it looks like something that you would buy at a supermarket for probably a lot more money than it costs to make it. It smells really good. I'm going to cut it open and see what it looks like inside. So I can show you. Don't worry, my hands are clean. Wow, look at that. Looks pretty legit. So I'm going to slice all of these up. I'm going to freeze it. Once it's fully cooled, I'm going to freeze it. And then when we need bread, we can kind of pull it out as needed. So I hope you guys try this recipe out. If you do, let me know. If you try this recipe out, let me know. Tag me on Instagram. Comment down below and to see what you guys create. All right, bye.